In the crucible of the Middle Eastern deserts, where the sun melts steel and sand jams engines, one armored titan forged an unbreakable legacy.
Originally designed for the grassy plains of Europe, this British engineering marvel was about to face its ultimate test in a completely alien environment.
Powered by the legendary Meteor engine, derived from fighter aircraft, the vehicle possessed the raw torque needed to navigate treacherous terrain.
Its wide tracks and advanced suspension system distributed its massive weight, allowing it to crawl over soft dunes that would swallow lesser machines.
But its true teeth lay in the L7 105mm rifled gun, an unparalleled weapon capable of striking targets with...
To survive the Middle East, the tanks underwent extensive local modifications, evolving into the formidable variant known as the Sho't. The volatile gasoline engines were swapped for robust diesel power plants, increasing operational range, and with their upgrades complete, these steel behemoths rolled toward the frontiers, ready to anchor the defense of a nation.
The Sinai Peninsula presented a tactical nightmare of open expanses, blinding glare, and terrain that shifted with the wind.
Inside the steel hulls, temperatures soared to unbearable extremes, testing the physical and mental limits of the four-man crews. Across the shimmering heat haze, a massive wave of Soviet-built armor advanced, outnumbering the defenders by a staggering margin. Commanders utilized the terrain flawlessly, adopting hull-down positions that made the Centurion an almost impossible target to hit. With superior optics and rigorous training, the crews locked onto targets long before the enemy could even bring their guns to bear.
The silence of the desert was shattered by the thunderous roar of the L7 cannon, initiating one of the largest armored clashes in history.
Firing advanced sub-caliber munitions, the Centurion's rounds cut through the air with devastating velocity and pinpoint precision.
The impact was instantaneous and catastrophic, effortlessly penetrating the thickest armor of the opposing forces. A skilled crew could reload and fire again in mere seconds, transforming the Centurion into a relentless, rapid-firing fortress.
Despite its heavy armor, the Centurion proved surprisingly agile, outmaneuvering adversaries across the treacherous, uneven dunes. Its rugged external suspension system absorbed the brutal impacts of the terrain, keeping the gun platform remarkably stable on the move.
When return fire inevitably came, the thick, carefully angled frontal armor of the Centurion proved nearly impenetrable.
While the Sinai offered open sands, the northern front presented an entirely different nightmare: the jagged, vertical battlegrounds of the Golan Heights.
Here, tanks were forced to fight on steep inclines and narrow, treacherous paths carved into the solid basalt. The Centurion's exceptional gun depression allowed it to fire down into the valleys while remaining perfectly concealed behind the ridgelines. In sectors like the Valley of Tears, a handful of these tanks held off waves of hundreds of enemy vehicles in a desperate stand.
When heavily outnumbered, tactical smoke screens were deployed, allowing the crews to vanish and reposition under the cover of a white shroud.
As darkness fell, the nature of the warfare shifted drastically, requiring specialized equipment to pierce the pitch-black desert night. Powerful searchlights illuminated the battlefield, turning the stealthy nighttime advances of the enemy into brightly lit kill zones.
Night engagements were chaotic and terrifying, marked by the thunderous flashes of cannon fire momentarily blinding the crews.
Victory relied not just on the machine, but on the unparalleled situational awareness and iron will of the tank commanders.
When tracks were blown off by artillery or mines, crews performed superhuman feats of maintenance in the middle of active war zones. Combined arms tactics were essential, with close air support providing vital cover for the advancing armored columns.
When the defensive phases ended, the Centurions transitioned into an unstoppable offensive spearhead, rolling across the sands.
Obstacles designed to halt an army were easily defeated by the tank's sheer length and raw engine power.
To counter infantry threats, the coaxial machine guns provided vital suppression, protecting the vulnerable flanks of the heavy beasts.
The environment itself was an enemy, with optical illusions and heat mirages making target identification extremely difficult. Fierce engagements lasted for hours, often draining the tanks of their entire massive ammunition reserves.
Logistics won the war. Daring resupply runs delivered vital ammunition directly to the front lines while under heavy enemy bombardment.
Despite taking heavy damage that shattered optics and tore away external fittings, the core armored citadel remained intact.
Crews pushed beyond the limits of human endurance, snatching moments of sleep on the warm steel decks of their running engines.
It wasn't merely the steel, but the synthesis of man and machine that allowed the Centurion to conquer the desert.
With every dawn came new offensives, utilizing the blinding morning sun to mask their perfectly coordinated advances.
Quick reflexes and rapid deceleration saved crews from sudden artillery barrages that cratered the paths ahead.
Clear, encrypted communications allowed decentralized tank platoons to coordinate devastating, multi-pronged counterattacks.
Its iconic profile, characterized by the large road wheels and lack of side skirts in the desert, became a symbol of dread for adversaries.
Upgraded sand filters were a critical modification, preventing the abrasive desert dust from shredding the engine's internal cylinders.
When the fighting pushed into abandoned outposts and towns, the long gun barrel required extremely precise navigation. At point-blank ranges, the superior turret rotation speed of the Centurion often dictated who lived and who died.
Commanders often fought exposed, utilizing heavy roof-mounted machine guns to suppress immediate infantry threats in tight environments.
Unstoppable by light fortifications, the armored behemoths simply crushed their way through obstacles to maintain momentum. Each vehicle bore the heavy, brutal scars of survival, testaments to the unforgiving nature of mechanized warfare. Hydration was as critical as ammunition. Water was strictly rationed, a liquid lifeline inside an oven of steel.
Beyond its offensive capabilities, the heavy armor served as an impenetrable shield for infantry and medical evacuations.
Specialized engineering variants cleared paths through minefields and obstacles, forging safe passage for the divisions behind them.
The deployment of high-explosive squash-head munitions allowed the Centurion to utterly devastate enemy concrete bunkers and heavy armor alike.
When properly entrenched, a single battalion could lock down vast swaths of the desert, creating an unbreakable defensive perimeter.
With unparalleled ballistics, it acted as an armored sniper, capable of destroying targets at ranges previously thought impossible.
No machine was left behind. The incredible torque of the diesel engines allowed them to recover their fallen comrades under fire. The desert infiltrated everything. Constant, obsessive maintenance was the only way to keep the complex turrets rotating smoothly. In the decisive final phases of the conflicts, the massed armored charges broke the enemy lines permanently. Faced with an adversary they could neither outflank nor penetrate, entire armored brigades were forced into submission.
When the guns finally fell silent, the desert was forever scarred by the monumental scale of the armored clashes.
The dominance of the Centurion shifted the balance of power, resulting in the capture of vast arsenals of enemy equipment. Returning to base, these battered warhorses were recognized not just as machines, but as the saviors of a nation.
Its performance in the Middle East revolutionized armored warfare, proving that adaptability was just as crucial as raw firepower.
The lessons learned in the desert directly influenced the development of the next generation of heavily armored main battle tanks.
Today, these legendary machines rest in museums, pristine and silent, a stark contrast.
But for the men who fought inside them, the memory of the thunderous gun and the suffocating heat remains vividly alive.
The winds of the Golan and the sands of the Sinai still echo with the roar of the meteor engines, and they remain the undisputed ghosts of the desert, an enduring symbol of mechanical resilience and tactical brilliance.
From the rainy factories of Great Britain to the absolute inferno of the Middle East, its journey was entirely unprecedented.
It forged heroes out of ordinary men, giving them the ultimate tool to defend their borders against impossible odds.
A symphony of heavy diesel and clanking steel that defined an entire era of modern armored warfare. A masterpiece of engineering that prioritized crew survivability and lethal accuracy above all else.
The precision of its weaponry changed the geometry of the battlefield, turning distance into the ultimate armor.
The wrecks of its adversaries remain scattered across the dunes, silent witnesses to the unmatched supremacy of the Centurion.
It carried the weight of a nation on its tracks, holding the line when the very existence of a country hung in the balance.
The Centurion stands alone in the annals of history, a titan of steel that tamed the most unforgiving environments on Earth.
A legacy of fire, steel, and sand that will never be forgotten.
The Centurion, the undisputed king of the desert. Its roar may have faded, but its legend is etched in the sands forever.